Alright, y'all, so I'm about to read something and I need y'all to like stick with me because I'm gonna go through it fast, but later on in the video I'm gonna break it down. But I'm gonna be in Daniel chapter 9 and 10. Same results, different timing. Between Daniel 9 and 10, we see acceleration and delay. In Daniel 9, heaven moved immediately. From Daniel chapter 9, verse 1 through 19, Daniel was praying. And in verse 20, while he was still praying, he got a response, an immediate answer. In Daniel 10, heaven still moved immediately, but the breakthrough was delayed in the natural. There was a battle in the unseen realm while Daniel was waiting. So in Daniel chapter 9, we see an immediate answer. In Daniel chapter 10, we see a delayed answer. In Daniel chapter 9, the answer came after a 3-minute prayer. In Daniel chapter 10, the answer came after a 3-week prayer. But at first, there was no response in the natural. So in Daniel chapter 9, we can see that Daniel is praying all the way up until verse 20. And in verse 20, it says, "While I was speaking, praying, confessing my sins and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my petition before the Lord my God concerning the holy mountain of God, while I was praying, Gabriel, the man I had seen in the first vision, reached me in my extreme weariness about the time of the evening offer." This prayer that Daniel prayed there was an immediate answer. But when we go to chapter 10, Gabriel said in verse 13, "But the prince of the kingdom of Persia opposed me for 21 days. What was Daniel doing for those 21 days? You look back in verse 2, you can see that Daniel said he was mourning for 3 full weeks. 3 full weeks is 21 days. So while Daniel was waiting in the natural, something was going on in the spiritual realm. There was a fight, there was a war going on in the spiritual realm. So the prayer was heard, but there was a delay in the natural. So there's some times where we might question God because we pray a prayer, but we don't see anything moving in the natural. We only see stillness. We don't see nothing moving. But that is when we continue to press. When we don't see anything moving in the natural, that isn't a sign to stop and give up and stop praying. That's a sign to keep pressing and keep moving. You have to learn how to be persistent in prayer. You have to learn how to not let your natural eye deceive you and make you feel like God is not working on your behalf, because there's something that's going on in the spiritual realm and God needs you. He needs you to do your part. So there are 2 types of prayers. There are prayers that has an immediate answer, and there are some prayers that the enemy tries to intervene in because he don't want you to receive that certain thing, that certain revelation, that certain breakthrough. So yeah, you might receive a prayer that doesn't have any spiritual resistance, but there are some prayers where the enemy gets a little shaken. Breakthrough is near. You just have to do your part. And one of the tricks of the enemy is to plant seeds in doubt and lies in your mind, making you feel like God isn't operating when he is. There's a verse in Isaiah 65 verse 24, and it says, "I will answer them before they call for help. I will help them before they finish asking." Before you even get out the full word, before Daniel could even finish his prayer, heaven answered him. And that's how it will be sometimes. God will answer you immediately. Some prayers are in divine alignment with heaven, and nothing or no one can take away what God has spoken over your life. But there are some prayers that shakes the kingdom of darkness, and it will cause spiritual resistance. And you have to be wise enough. You have to walk in wisdom. You have to walk in the spirit to understand that when those times where you're praying for a certain thing, a certain revelation, a certain breakthrough, and you don't see it when you want to see it, or when you feel like you need to receive that thing, you have to press even harder. You have to pray even harder, because God is working and he's moving, but the enemy is also working and he's also moving, and there's a fight going on in the spiritual realm. Just because you don't see a certain desire being fulfilled, or you're praying and praying and praying and you don't see a certain breakthrough, that is not the time where we give up on God. That is the time where we press even harder, because something is working, and the longer you wait, the greater the breakthrough. So that's all I wanted to say. That's really all I wanted to say. I don't have nothing else to say. I'm trying to make this video longer than what it needs to be, but yeah.